Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Life is But a Dream. I am your host, Adriana, and I am excited to share with you guys what I have learned on the beautiful topic of shame. Now, the word shame, I know that could be a little bit scary of a word, but trust me, this is something that you want to get a really good grasp on because a lot of people think that anger, anxiety, or fear are their biggest struggles, but in reality, shame psychologically is the basis of most negative emotions. It's the base of it, and then everything else is secondary, third, fourth, fifth after that. And I know so much about this because I actually built my thesis workshop off of this topic of shame. I've been doing emotional intelligence classes for it's coming up on 2 years, which is really beautiful. And I've learned so much, and I ended up doing a thesis, a workshop, and it was a really great success. Thank you so much to everyone who came out. It was a great turnout, and I really felt the impact, after learning so much about emotional intelligence and how important it is to be knowledgeable on these things in order to not hold yourself back in life, in order to come into those positive, enriching relationships that everyone wants, and that everyone deserves. You need to have a hold on yourself and be aware and conscious about the subconscious that is going on in your brain. And shame is a huge indicator of a lot of the things that aren't going right in your life. Not right, because that would mean that things are right and wrong, and I don't believe anything's right or wrong. It's just what works and what doesn't work for you. So we'll say that shame is the majority of the time the stem of what is not working in your life. Like I said, the workshop was a great success, and I realized that a lot of people needed to hear this message. So I wanted to do a podcast episode about it. And if you guys would be interested in me doing another live in-person workshop, let me know, because it was a lot of fun and I got a lot of great feedback. So I would love to do that. So if you're interested, comment, let me know, DM me, whatever the case. So let's break it down in simple terms. Shame is the belief that something is wrong with you. And this might be easy to acknowledge guilt, and guilt is the opposite. Guilt is you saying that I did something bad instead of you telling yourself that you are bad. Instead of you telling yourself the story that you did something wrong, that you're unlovable, and that you're stupid, or you don't, whatever the case, like you're reflecting whatever it didn't work in your life onto you instead of just saying what you did was bad. Like, for example, like if you cheat on someone, then, you say, if you shame yourself, you'll say, oh, I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be loved, this, and that. But if you step outside of yourself and say what I did was bad, that was something that did not bring me closer in my relationship. I did that out of subconscious reasoning. I had a need that wasn't being met. Whatever the case may be, you're realizing that you are not that thing, because shame, psychologically, fun fact, is the lowest vibrational energy that we experience as humans. And guess what the highest vibration is? Authenticity. So, how can we get from shame, beating ourselves up, to authenticity, being authentic, being honest with ourselves, and realizing that, our true selves, they aren't our bad habits, they aren't our negative beliefs, they aren't our limiting beliefs, they're that will stem from somewhere. It came from some experience that led us to a series of emotions that led us to a core belief, but we get to realize that we're so much bigger than that. We don't need to limit ourselves to the negative things that have happened in our lives. Therefore, creating the limiting beliefs that we have in our lives that create negative beliefs. It just goes into a big, I want to say mess, but everything is perfect. Everything is meant to happen the way it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to go through the things that you're supposed to go through in order to become the best version of yourself, to inspire others and all that good stuff, okay? Ways that shame shows up in your daily life. One is people pleasing. People pleasing is a big red flag alert that you are feeling some type of shame, because if you're people pleasing, then you're going the extra mile. You're trying to show worth within yourself when you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You are naturally, inherently of worth, and that is fact. Or perfectionism, earning worthiness, feeling like you need to be perfect, stressing about it, being anxious about it, because you're trying to earn worthiness. But like I said, we are born worthy, every single one of us. Shame also comes up when we have fear on being seen or being judged, because this is taking away from our authentic self. We've one way or another have come to some belief that if I act this way, then I will be judged, or if I do this or that, people won't like me, or whatever the case may be. And that's you operating from fear of judgment, like I said, and that leads you to not being authentic. And if you're being inauthentic, then you're not operating from a high vibration. And scientifically, if you are coming from a low vibration, which is shame, it's not going to give you good results, babe. Something's not going to be clicking, something's not going to be working in your life, and you get to be conscious about it, so then you can stop these cycles of being unhappy and self-sabotage. Shame also shows up by you suppressing your emotions, because you think, or you've been made to think, you have the limiting belief that your emotions make you weak, and that is not the case. Emotions are a beautiful thing that we get to not suppress or hide, because they're going to happen regardless. So imagine how powerful it would be if you decided to nurture them, to get to know them, to be conscious of them, so then you can deal with them in a way that is going to lead you to have the most peace, and not built up with shame, resentment, anger, whatever the case may be. So when you think about it, and you think to yourself, like, why is shame the root of most negative emotions? And let me help break it down a little bit. So anger often masks shame. So when we lash out of anger, it's coming from a place of feeling unworthy. You cover up your shame by using anger, and that is what leads you to lash out, to hide the fact that you feel unworthy. So a lot of times when you feel anxiety, it comes from shame, but your anxiety masks it because you are feeling scared of potential rejection or potential failure. And so it comes off as anxiety, but underneath, it's shame. Or depression. Depression can come when you feel that you are unworthy or you are not enough, and that comes from underneath shame. And something that I talked about in my workshop is that when shame is named, it loses its power. Think about it. If you're sitting in your head and you're constantly thinking about how you're unworthy, or whatever the case may be, when you are conscious of it and you acknowledge it, then it starts to lose power. It doesn't have so much power over you. Super quick example, like I hold a lot of shame when it comes to being a perfectionist. And that's because deep down, for a long time, I had a core belief that I was unworthy. And if you watch my Enneagram video, you know that with my childhood experience, I am a type 4 Enneagram. That comes from me having the belief that I don't feel connected to either one of my parents, and that's because I am unworthy. Whether it was my fault or not, in reality, both of my parents weren't very present, but that's okay. But the prices that were paid for that was that I ended up having the belief that I was unworthy. And so that becomes to me being a perfectionist and me always wanting to have things a certain way, because I told myself the story that if I wasn't perfect, then I wouldn't be worthy of love. Literally, in my workshop, once people expressed the shame that they felt, you literally felt the room's energy lift. It didn't feel so heavy. It felt lighter. It's hard to describe, and it's not even on a spiritual sense either. It could be, and definitely is, if you choose to view it that way. But, you know, if we want to keep it to psychology and energy and matter and whatnot, you know, so much energy was lifted. And it was such an amazing feeling because we literally named our shame. We identified it and we called it out, and that literally gave people so much relief. And literally seeing people come in one way and then leaving super vibrant and happy and smiling at the end, it really landed my intention with what I wanted for this workshop, and that was to alleviate people from shame, to identify it, to alleviate themselves of it, and then taking tools that I gave them to continue to identify it when it comes up, so then they don't have to carry that anymore. So just remember that shame will secretly run your life if you let it. But once you're aware of it, that's when you can step into authenticity and confidence and live that way instead of built up shame and all the negative emotions that stem from it. So like I said, if you want me to bring that workshop back, I would love to. It was a great time. Just let me know, comment, DM me, and I might do one in the near future. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. If you're listening to this, you are why I'm here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Make sure that you share this with anyone that you think could benefit from it. Hint, hint, that's everyone. We all carry shame. Hopefully this gave you a little bit more insight that we really do all have shame, and it's just about admitting it and allowing it to be named so then you can release it once and for all. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here again. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.